Megan, thank you so much for taking some time and joining us today. Now, you're an advocate for the Haisla language and the culture, among many, many other things. But we'll start there. What are some things you're doing in your community to preserve the language and the culture?
In my community here, I've been involved in a process called the Rapid Word Collection, which was done with the help of some linguists from Trinity University as well as First Nations Education Foundation. It was a real honor to get to do that work. We got to work with fluent speakers, elders, and knowledge keepers in our community. It's kind of been an ongoing process since 2020. We've collected words, stories, and this year we worked on collecting traditional place names for our territory. And it's definitely been quite the learning process for me, but I feel like I get a lot out of it. The connections that you make and just the knowledge that is shared. It's been a pretty incredible journey so far.
So, Megan, what inspired you to do all of this work?
I think it kind of started on my own healing journey. I realized how impactful it was for me to learn more about my identity as a Haisla person. And a lot of that came through culture, it came through language, it came through connecting with, like I mentioned, the knowledge keepers in our community. And it had such a positive impact on me. I wanted to be able to explore that a little more, get a more in-depth understanding of it, and then turn around and share what I've learned with other people, because I know I've felt those positive impacts and I wanted to be able to share those kinds of opportunities and experiences with others too.
Well, when it comes to the language, I mean, how many people speak the language? Like, is the language in danger?
You definitely could say that. I think the last time I checked, we had about 80 fluent speakers left in our community, which is still a pretty good number, but we're definitely doing the work that we can to ensure we can collect as much as we can from those speakers that are still with us here.
Well, so when it comes to your culture, is it something that you've always sort of been around since you were a kid and a child and growing up, or was it something you more so learned as you were growing up? And like you said, you're kind of on your own journey, right?
Yeah, definitely. When I was younger, I really felt that call and that pull to it. I was involved in a local dance group in our community, and I really took a liking to, I was very interested in the leader of the group, how they led the group and the drummers and the singers with the talking stick. And one day I kind of tried to pick it up myself while we were in practice, and I was just mimicking what I had observed, and I was definitely really nurtured and guided from the beginning. They made me my own mini talking stick, and I had a little regalia set up. Unfortunately though, because we were kind of walking in two worlds, I did lose a little bit of that connection entering into high school, trying to find my place, trying to fit in. But it's something I've found my way right back to. I feel like I've come full circle, and I'm realizing now why I felt so called to that ceremony, the singing and the drums, all of that. And the language is definitely a part of that. So kind of picking up where I left off.
Well, and like I had mentioned off the top, I mean, you do so many other, so much more great work as well. You're also advocating for mental health. How do you address the need for mental health supports in your community?
I first started off with trying to connect with other youth in my community. As I was learning more about mental health, I was on a committee with First Nations Health Authority, Life Promotion for All My Relations. I think from about 2018 to 2020 or 2021, I was doing work with them, and I got mental health and wellness skills training. I got a lot of exposure to different ceremony, getting to connect with people from other nations. And I took what I learned from that. I tried to implement the language that I was learning, like positive affirmations in our language or helpful phrases that can help you reach out to others if you're in need of help. And I kind of put that into a presentation, and I would take that to our annual Haisla Youth Culture Camps. And I would try my best to just open up a safe space for those kinds of discussions amongst my fellow youth. And I have had the opportunity as well to try and support people in other age groups in our community. And a lot of it usually connects right back to sharing our stories, sharing our history, because that's what really helps empower our people and remind them about who we are.
Well, Megan, how does that, with the mental health aspect, how does that also tie into culture and language? I imagine there's some sort of connection there too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I feel like they go hand in hand. When you're out spending time on the land, when you're spending time with elders, when you're learning more about your mother tongue, that kind of first language that a lot of us have, it strengthens the identity that you have, and it strengthens the connection that you have to the land, because so much of our language is connected directly to the land through place names. And in my community's case, the traditional names that individuals hold too are connected to pieces of our land. And being able to have all that knowledge and know you have this sense of place and this sense of belonging through our storytelling, like, I feel like it just all weaves together quite effortlessly. And I think that's why the mental health work that I initially started with kind of started to intertwine together with the culture and language work that I was doing too. I feel like they go hand in hand.
No, absolutely. And you had mentioned you're sort of leading the charge, so to speak, and you're taking all of this to different age groups as well. Why is it important for you as a youth or as a younger member of the community to combat mental health and to sort of lead the charge on a lot of these different initiatives?
I feel like we all deserve that opportunity to heal, to connect, and having that intergenerational healing is really important to me, because everyone talks about how our youth are our future. That is absolutely true. They deserve all the love and the care and the teachings in the world. But we can't forget about our other age groups in our communities too, because they've also been impacted by the historical, and not only the historical, but the ongoing impacts of colonization that has had on our people, on our lands, and our communities. We're all feeling the impacts in varying ways, and I just feel very strongly that everyone deserves that opportunity to have those kinds of experiences, because that's what opens you back up to wanting to be vulnerable, to wanting to learn, and wanting to address those kind of really deep things that a lot of us have been carrying. And some of us, it's not all our own stuff that we've been carrying. So being able to explore that and learn more about ourselves and who we really are, not what the world kind of tells us that we are.
Right. And what are some of the other age groups saying to you and saying about all of this work that you're doing?
It's really encouraging, actually, to see the way all these different generations are connecting with each other. I used to host these events when I was working for my nation, and I called them Nuyum Nights. And Nuyum in our language means story. But it kind of translates to so much more than that, because through our stories, we learn our history, we learn our natural laws, our protocols, we learn more about our language. And it was hosted online because it was during the pandemic, so we couldn't really meet in person. We had people from all over Canada. We had entire families sitting in to listen to these stories. We had elders coming in and adding like all these beautiful details to each story. And I felt like it just created this safe space where all of these questions that we've all had, we could finally ask them and realize, even though you may feel like you weren't raised particularly with strong culture, you might not actually be aware that you have a lot of teachings in your kyoji, in your bentwood box, or in your basket. And it's simply because that's just how you were raised. You were instilled with those really old values, and it was affirming for a lot of people too, to realize how much they actually carried. And you could just see the way adults, youth, elders would just be uplifted by the discussions that we had. And like I said, it's just incredibly encouraging for me, and it's something I hope to continue to get to do.
Megan, what do you think it takes to have someone be a leader either in their community or just a leader to maybe their family? What do you think it takes to be a leader?
To be a leader, I feel like it's not so much about... Oh, froze there for a second. Okay, so for me, I think being a leader doesn't necessarily have to coincide with a certain position or a certain level of power that you have in your community. It's really about how you conduct yourself. And if you feel really passionate or really called to a certain area of, or a certain kind of area of knowledge, I guess I'm trying to say. If you feel really called to it, do what you can to explore it and look into it and really embrace that part of yourself, because that could be your gift. That could be the gift you have to offer your community, your family, and who knows how far that could really spread. There's a ripple effect on everything.
I wanted to ask, like, what are some of your future goals? And you've already done some incredible work in the past. Like, what are you working towards in the future here?
Well, I recently graduated from the University of Northern British Columbia with a certificate in First Nations language, so in Haisla, my language. And I'm hoping to have more opportunities to be able to teach more about our language, continue learning from the elders and fluent speakers in my community, and trying to keep those safe spaces open in our community for people to come together, to learn, to discuss these things that maybe people weren't as comfortable discussing before. And just like strengthening not only myself, but the people around me too, and really try to build and uplift and just continue to have that hope and that positivity for the future.
Well, and just on that note, where do you hope to see everything go, just in terms of your work, but also the work across the country when it comes to reconciliation and people connecting with their own culture? Where do you sort of, as an overall goal, hope to see things go?
I just hope to see our languages, our identities, our sovereignty as peoples to be not only acknowledged, but to be respected, to be uplifted, and to be truly honored, because we all have such beautiful cultures, beautiful languages, and I would love to see all of that more accurately represented in this country that we live in, and to have more opportunities for not only our youth, but all of our people to really not stay in that kind of, how am I trying to say this? Not really surviving, but like truly thriving and feeling joy in life, and being able to explore, like I had mentioned, the different gifts that each of us carry.
Well, Megan, that's really well said. I think that's a great way to leave our conversation for now. I want to say a big thank you, Miigwech, to you for coming on and joining our show and sharing a bit of what you do and what you're passionate about. So again, thank you, Miigwech.
Yeah, thank you. I thank you for this opportunity.